Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the series, The Soul's Path Home, Divine Wisdom on Death and Beyond. Today, on the 9th day of the blessed month of Ramadan, and our Ramadan Reflection series for 2025, we will explore one of the most comforting aspects of death, the greeting of the angels at the time of departure. However, first off, let's think about what the theme is and look at how the Quran portrays it. When we say, or when the Quran says rather, that the angels greet you, we have to first ask ourselves, what type of greeting is this? Is it a literal, or is it metaphorical in meaning? Well, we're going to try and review this today and hopefully understand a bit of the Quranic perspective of the greeting of the angels. Now, as we continue our journey through the stages of life and death, we turn our attention today to that moment when the soul is called and the angels arrive to greet it. These celestial beings have a special role in the transition from this world to the next. For the believer, this moment marks not the end, but rather the beginning of an eternal reward. And the presence of the angels is a powerful sign of Allah's mercy and Allah's grace. In the Quran, Allah reassures us that the righteous are met with peace and comfort from the angels at the time of their death. In this regard, when we look at the Quran, we see that Allah mentions, the angels descend upon them saying, "Do not fear nor grieve, but receive glad tidings of paradise." Now, this verse, a very brief verse, captures the essence of the divine intervention at the moment of death, offering the believer reassurance and joy in their final moments of this world, in this life. Let's delve into the significance of the angels at the time of death, their role in greeting the soul, and what this means for us as we strive to live lives that will earn us this level of divine comfort at the time of our death. Now, the first question I want to pose is, well, what is the role of angels at death? Don't people just die? Is there a component of angels coming to complete this process? If so, why? Can't Allah just have people die when it's their time? Why is there a need for angels to be involved in this process? Well, look, when death approaches, it's not just a solitary final moment. It's an important transition. The soul is accompanied by divine forces, particularly the angels is what we're talking about, and their mission is to guide, comfort, and protect. These angels are tasked with assisting the soul in its departure and welcoming it into the realm of the afterlife. After all, the soul is about to go where it has no idea of what to expect, other than if it read books about the process of death. But even then, as we said a few sessions ago, that would be all abstract theory. Now this is the real deal. And so presumably the angels need to be there to guide and assist the soul on the first leg of its journey beyond. The Quran clearly mentions the role of the angels in this process in chapter 41, verse 30, where Allah says, "The angels descend upon them saying, 'Do not fear nor grieve, but receive good tidings which you were promised.'" Thus, the angel's presence is one of the first signs that the righteous soul has nothing to fear in its final moments. They come as bearers of good news, assuring the believer that the journey ahead will lead to paradise, eventually, after the day of judgment, obviously. This is a moment of profound peace for the soul, one of the greatest gifts Allah offers to those who have lived a life of faith and good deeds. Now, one of the things that is provided is the comfort of the angels, as we said. The soul at this moment is transitioning from a life full of trials and struggles, which it knew about, into the eternal peace of the afterlife, which it has no idea about. The fear of the unknown, which often accompanies death, is replaced by peace. It's replaced by the peace of knowing that this is the beginning of the eternal reward. The fear of the grave, the uncertainty of what lies ahead, and the worries of the world are all put to rest by the soothing words of the angels. This greeting is not just an emotional reassurance, it's a sign of the mercy of Allah, who provides this comfort to the soul based on its deeds in this world. Now, there are two categories of souls at the time of death. Now, while the Quran offers us comforting words for the righteous soul, the experience of death is different for the disbeliever and the sinners. In contrast to the peace and joy promised to the faithful, the disbeliever or the wrongdoer faces a very different kind of reception from the angels. For those who have lived lives filled with sin, denial, and rebellion against Allah, death is a time of regret and anxiety. The Quran paints that stark contrast to the comfort of the righteous, as seen in chapter number 6, Surah Al-An'am, verse number 93, where Allah says the following: "And if you could see when the wrongdoers are in the overwhelming pangs of death, while the angels extend their hands, saying, 'Discharge your soul,' today you will be recompensed with the punishment of degradation." The angels do not offer comforting words, as you can see. Instead, they come as a sign of punishment, meting out the justice that the soul deserves for its actions in the worldly life. For these souls, death is not a peaceful transition, but an overwhelming reminder of the consequences of their choices they made in the life of this temporal world. What is the nature, however, of the angels' greeting? The angels don't simply bring comfort, they bring the promise of paradise. The words they speak to the soul reflect the reward Allah has prepared for those who have lived a life of righteousness. They say, "Enter paradise for what you used to do." A direct acknowledgement of the good deeds, the taqwa, the God consciousness, and the efforts to live according to the divine guidance. Now, the believer's life on earth, filled with its trials and struggles, is acknowledged by the angels as they assure the soul of the rest and the reward that await it. The righteous are greeted with joy, not just by the angels, but actually more so by the divine mercy that is bestowed upon them for their steadfastness in faith. What is the final greeting from Allah, however? What is that final greeting from Allah's mercy? Well, the Quran and Hadith both convey that the soul's final moments are filled with mercy, peace, and divine approval when it has lived according to the commands of Allah. The presence of the angels is a reflection of Allah's mercy, and this is a reward for the believer's good deeds, such as their prayers, charity, and acts of devotion to Allah. The angels do not come only to bring comfort, but also to remind the soul of its ultimate reward that it will receive in the hereafter. They are ultimately sent as messengers of peace, urging the soul to leave the world of impermanence and enter the eternal world of paradise. As we reflect on the presence of the angels at the time of death, we're reminded of the mercy of Allah and the importance of living a life of righteousness, so that when the moment of departure comes, we too are greeted with peace and the promise of paradise. Now, as tomorrow marks the 10th of the month of Ramadan, which is the date of the death anniversary of al-Mu'mineen, Khadija bint Khuwaylid, may Allah be pleased with her and may Allah raise her rank, we're going to take a brief pause from our theme to look at the first and the most beloved wife of our beloved Prophet Muhammad. May the blessings of Allah be upon him and his family. Thus, tomorrow we ask you to join us. We will be dedicating tomorrow's Ramadan reflections to our true mother, the unwavering pillar of support for our beloved Prophet Muhammad. May Allah bless him and his family, and the mother of Fatima az-Zahra. May God's peace and blessings be upon her. We will return to our discussion on death on the 11th of the month of Ramadan, the day after tomorrow, and continue in this thread and see where we go in the discussion of death. Until then, may we live lives that are worthy of the angels comforting us with that greeting of peace. And I leave you with the words of peace today. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi